Ryan was 22 years old, and for most of his life, he believed the world existed to make him comfortable. He lived in a huge house with shining floors, expensive furniture, and more rooms than he could count. Every morning, sunlight entered through the giant glass windows of his bedroom, but Ryan rarely woke up before noon. His alarm rang every day, yet he always turned it off and pulled the blanket over his head again. His life had no schedule, no goals, and no responsibilities. While people across the city hurried to offices, schools, factories, and shops, Ryan remained asleep in his soft bed. When he finally woke up, he stretched lazily, checked his phone for messages, and spent almost an hour scrolling through videos online. A servant usually knocked on his door carrying breakfast on a silver tray. "Sir, your coffee is getting cold," the servant would politely remind him. Ryan would barely look up. "Leave it there." After breakfast, he often sat in front of the television for hours. Sometimes he played video games all afternoon. Other days, he drove around the city in his expensive sports car, buying clothes, shoes, or gadgets he didn't even need. He never looked at price tags because he knew his father would pay for everything. Money meant nothing to him. Whenever his friends invited him somewhere, Ryan immediately agreed because he never had work to finish or responsibilities waiting for him. He spent nights in luxury restaurants, laughing loudly, wasting food, and acting like life would always remain easy. His father, Mr. Harrison, was one of the richest businessmen in the city. He owned construction companies, hotels, and factories. People respected him because he had built his success from nothing. Years ago, he had lived in a tiny apartment and worked day and night just to survive, but Ryan never cared about those stories. To him, wealth had always existed naturally, like air or sunlight. One evening, Ryan returned home late after another party. The house was quiet except for the ticking clock in the hallway. As he walked toward the stairs, he noticed his father sitting alone in the living room with a serious expression. "Sit down," his father said calmly. Ryan sighed. "Dad, I'm tired." "Sit." The tone in his father's voice made Ryan stop. He sat on the sofa while loosening his jacket. Mr. Harrison looked at him carefully. "What are you doing with your life?" Ryan frowned. "What do you mean?" "You sleep all day. You spend money all night. You have no purpose." Ryan laughed lightly. "Dad, relax. Everything is fine." "No," his father replied firmly. "Everything is not fine." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then his father continued. "Do you think money lasts forever? Do you think life will always be easy because I worked hard?" Ryan looked away. "You worry too much." His father leaned forward. "I built everything you see with sacrifice. I missed meals. I worked in heat, rain, and exhaustion. I slept in tiny rooms and walked miles because I couldn't afford transportation. And you," he paused sadly, "you treat life like a game." Ryan felt uncomfortable. "I'm still young. And when will you grow up?" his father asked quietly. Ryan had no answer. That night, he went to his room irritated. He thought his father was overreacting. After all, their family was rich. Why should he struggle when success already existed around him? The next morning, Ryan woke up earlier than usual because someone kept knocking loudly on his door. "Wake up," his father's voice came from outside. "You're coming with me." Ryan checked the time and groaned. "It's only 6 in the morning." "Exactly." Half asleep, Ryan got dressed and followed his father outside. Instead of using the luxury car, his father drove an older vehicle toward the industrial side of the city. Ryan stared through the window, confused. "Where are we going?" he asked. "You'll see." After nearly an hour, they entered a crowded neighborhood Ryan had never visited before. The streets were narrow and dusty. Small houses stood close together with broken walls and rusted roofs. Children played barefoot near dirty water. Men carried heavy bags on their shoulders while women sold vegetables beside the road. Ryan looked uncomfortable. His father parked the car near a construction site. Workers covered in sweat-lifted bricks under the hot morning sun. Some looked exhausted, but they continued working without complaint. Mr. Harrison stepped out of the car. "Come." Ryan followed reluctantly. One of the workers smiled respectfully at his father. "Good morning, sir." "Good morning," Mr. Harrison replied warmly. Ryan watched carefully. These people looked tired, yet they still smiled. His father pointed toward a thin old man mixing cement. "That man is 62 years old. He wakes up at 4 every morning because his family depends on him." Then he pointed toward a younger worker carrying heavy pipes. "That man studies at night after work because he dreams of becoming an engineer." Ryan remained silent. His father continued walking through the neighborhood. Everywhere Ryan looked, people were struggling yet continuing forward. Small shops opened early. Street vendors shouted to attract customers. Mothers hurried with children. Delivery boys rode old motorcycles carrying food across the city. Finally, his father stopped beside a tea stall. "Do you know what these people have in common?" he asked. Ryan shook his head. "They understand something you don't." His father looked directly into his eyes. "Life gives nothing for free." The words hit Ryan harder than expected. "They work because they must survive," his father continued. "And you waste your days because you think comfort is permanent." Ryan suddenly felt ashamed. For the first time in years, he noticed how different his life was from the lives around him. On the drive home, Ryan stayed quiet, but the lesson was only beginning. The following Monday, his father entered Ryan's room carrying a simple black bag. "What's this?" Ryan asked sleepily. "Your lunch." Ryan sat up. "Why?" "Because today you start working." Ryan laughed. "At your company?" "Yes." A smile appeared on Ryan's face. "Finally, so I get an office. You'll start where everyone starts." When they arrived at the company headquarters, Ryan expected employees to welcome him specially because he was the owner's son. Instead, his father handed him an ID card and led him to a crowded office room filled with desks and computers. "This is your department," his father said. Ryan stared in disbelief. "This place?" "Yes. There's no private office. You haven't earned one." Before Ryan could complain, his father walked away. A middle-aged supervisor approached him. "You must be Ryan. Sit there." The desk was old and small. A pile of files waited beside the computer. Ryan looked annoyed. "What exactly am I supposed to do?" "Work," the supervisor answered simply. The first day felt endless. Ryan had to organize paperwork, enter data, answer emails, and deliver documents between departments. Nobody treated him like the boss's son. Employees were polite but busy. They didn't care about his expensive clothes or luxury lifestyle. By lunchtime, Ryan was already exhausted. He opened the black lunch bag his father had given him. Inside were 2 sandwiches and a bottle of water. Meanwhile, he remembered how he usually ate at expensive restaurants during afternoons. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. The supervisor overheard him. "Real work usually is." Days turned into weeks. Every morning Ryan woke up early. Every evening he returned home tired. At first he hated everything: the long hours, strict schedules, and constant pressure. He often thought about quitting, but something slowly began changing inside him. One afternoon, he noticed an older employee staying late to finish extra reports. Ryan asked, "Why don't you go home?" The man smiled weakly. "My daughter needs surgery soon. I need the overtime pay." That answer stayed in Ryan's mind for hours. Another day, he saw a young woman in the office studying business books during her lunch break. "You study while working?" he asked. "I want a promotion someday," she replied confidently. Ryan realized that everyone around him had dreams, struggles, and responsibilities. Unlike him, they weren't working because someone forced them. They worked because people depended on them and because they wanted better futures. For the first time, Ryan started respecting ordinary workers. Months passed. Gradually, Ryan became more disciplined. He stopped sleeping late. He learned how to manage projects, solve problems, and communicate professionally. Mistakes still happened, but instead of avoiding responsibility, he began fixing them. One evening, he remained alone in the office finishing reports. As he looked around the quiet room, he remembered the lazy version of himself from months earlier. He barely recognized that person anymore. Suddenly, his father appeared near the door. "You're still here?" his father asked. Ryan nodded. "This project needs to be completed before tomorrow." His father looked surprised but pleased. "You could leave it for someone else." Ryan shook his head. "No, it's my responsibility." For a brief moment, pride appeared in Mr. Harrison's eyes. As weeks continued passing, Ryan started understanding his father differently. Previously, he had only seen wealth, the expensive house, the cars, the success. But now he saw the years of sacrifice hidden behind everything. He understood the stress of responsibility and the pressure of leading a company where hundreds of employees depended on salaries every month. One rainy evening, Ryan found his father still working alone in his office after everyone had left. "You're not going home?" Ryan asked. "Not yet," his father replied while reviewing documents. Ryan looked at the piles of paperwork. "Do you do this every night?" "Most nights." Ryan sat quietly. As a child, he had imagined success as endless comfort. Now he realized success often meant endless responsibility. His father removed his glasses and smiled slightly. "Tired?" Ryan laughed softly. "Very." "Good," his father answered. Ryan looked confused. "Tired people sleep peacefully," his father said, "because they know they earned their rest." Those words remained in Ryan's heart. Slowly, his habits changed outside work too. He spent less time partying and more time learning about business. He stopped buying unnecessary things. Sometimes he even drove through poorer neighborhoods again, remembering the lesson his father showed him. One Saturday afternoon, Ryan visited the same construction site they had seen months earlier. The workers still labored under the hot sun. The old man mixing cement recognized him and smiled. "You came back." Ryan nodded. "I wanted to say thank you." The old worker looked confused. "For what?" "For teaching me something important." The man laughed gently. "I didn't teach you anything." "Yes," Ryan replied quietly. "You did." Another 6 months passed. By now, Ryan had earned respect inside the company. Employees noticed that he no longer acted arrogant or lazy. He listened carefully, worked sincerely, and treated others kindly. One morning, the supervisor who once criticized him smiled proudly. "You've changed a lot." Ryan smiled back. "I know." That same day, his father called him upstairs. Ryan entered the large executive floor nervously. He hadn't visited this area often since starting work. Inside the office, his father stood near the window overlooking the city. "Close the door," he said. Ryan obeyed. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Mr. Harrison handed him a small silver key. "What's this?" Ryan asked. "Come with me." They walked down a hallway until his father stopped before a beautiful office with glass walls and a wooden desk. Ryan stared in shock. His father opened the door slowly. "This office is yours." Ryan looked speechless. "You earned it," his father continued. "Not because you're my son, because you worked for it." Ryan felt emotion rising in his chest. Months ago, he would have celebrated only the luxury of the office, but now the room represented something deeper: growth, discipline, and trust. "There's more," his father added. "Starting next week, you'll manage one of our major projects." Ryan's eyes widened. "Really?" His father nodded. "I believe you're ready." For the first time in years, Ryan felt genuinely proud of himself. Not because of money, not because of comfort, but because he had finally earned something through his own effort. That evening, Ryan stayed alone in the office after everyone left. City lights glowed outside the windows while silence filled the room. He thought about his old life: the late mornings, endless shopping, careless spending, and empty routines. Back then, he believed happiness came from avoiding struggle. Now he understood something completely different. Easy lives often create weak people. Challenges create strong people. Hard work changes the way a person thinks, speaks, and sees the world. It teaches respect. It teaches gratitude. It teaches value. Ryan looked at his hands resting on the desk. Months earlier, those hands had done nothing meaningful. Now they carried responsibility. Suddenly, his phone buzzed with a message from an old friend. "Party tonight? Same place as always." Ryan stared at the message for several seconds before smiling slightly and typing, "Can't come. I have work tomorrow." After sending the message, he leaned back in his chair and looked around the office again. For the first time in his life, he truly understood what his father had tried to teach him all along. Life is not about how much money you inherit. It is about how much character you build. Money can buy comfort, but it cannot buy discipline. Money can buy luxury, but it cannot buy respect. And money earned through hard work always feels different from money given freely. Ryan finally understood why his father had forced him to struggle, because without struggle, he would have remained weak forever. Years later, Ryan would often tell young employees his story. Many were surprised to learn that he once lived such a careless life. "I used to think success was easy," he would say with a smile. But easy things rarely teach valuable lessons. Then he would look around the office filled with hardworking people and continue. "The world respects effort, not excuses." And every time he said those words, he remembered the dusty streets, the construction workers, the packed lunches, the exhausting days, and the moment his life truly changed. Because sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give is not comfort, but the courage to work hard and become stronger.